Welcome back to Black Man We Hear You, Episode 2, Part 2, the Spirituality Edition. And today we ask the brothers, should your spirituality play a role in your love life? And is spiritual aggression healthy for the black man? Joining us today we have Brother Shaman, Gregory Shaka Alexander, Reverend Nigel Pierce, Brother Zion, and I'm your host, Shadina Shavard. When it comes up to your love life, does spirituality play a role in, who you're dating and who you're talking to?
Yes.
Because it does.
That's hard.
And what, why and in what way?
Absolutely.
Nah, you absolutely, you
Because it just has. I mean, there's a scripture that's in Book of Amos, right? That talks about, can two walk together except they be agreed, right? Like I can only walk with you to a certain extent, hand in hand, let's say, where our fundamentals will be able to be in unison, and then will find themselves in clashing. Because again, when you talk about people's fundamental principles, right, this really governs how they move. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why people that talk about, I don't really believe in anything, it's like, I'm kind of weary about you.
Right.
You talking about you don't believe in anything, so what governs how you move? You a ticking time bomb to me now. You unpredictable, because there's no tenets that really structure how you move. And so I feel like with a sister, me, where I'm at these days, because I wasn't there before, where I'm at these days, I'm really in the business of trying to be able to nourish sisters that's around me, especially a sister who I'm going to consider to be my wife. I mean, absolutely. She's supposed to be the maker of the home in regards to, if the sister is on point with understanding what's going on in the world, she recognizes that since we talk about, us as so-called black men, we really get it hard out here in the streets. You know what I mean? And so I don't need to be getting it hard in the streets and come home and still get it hard. I need that to not be the place. You know what I'm saying? Like that, I need to be able to kick my feet up in a place where I know I can have support here. Right? The scriptures talk about sisters being a pillar of rest. I need you to not be a pillar of stress.
Right.
Like it has to be where you recognize the God in me, and by way of that, you trust in me to lead you closer to the Creator that I said that I believe in, and therefore, predicated upon my beliefs, I am the man that you take great value in, right? So now you trust me to not be out here just using and discarding women like toilet paper, like how I used to do. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like you got to be able to give a sister that which you want her to be able to show you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And if you want her to not be in the business of being jealous, then perhaps you don't present yourself like that. If you want her to be in the business of being integral, you present yourself that way as a leader. You know what I mean? So absolutely. And I've lost so many ties with sisters as I've matured in this spirituality of mine, where sisters just like, listen, I see where you're going right now, and I don't want to go there.
I know that.
You know what I'm saying? I remember a sister looked me, I remember a sister looked me dead in my face one time. She and I was getting ready to leave my apartment one time, and she was like, I see what you're getting into these days. You know what I mean? And I see what you're getting into these days.
We don't talk like that.
I see what you're getting into.
I see what you're getting into these days, and I recognize that that's important to you and whatnot. I need you to know, brother, that I'm still going to be here for you. I'm going to be your friend. Now, I don't throw around the word friend frivolously. This brother knows that. So I wasn't really considering her my friend to begin with. But I said, that sounds good. Today, she and I don't even speak. Not because I don't want to speak with her. I would love to have a relationship with her as her builder to be my friend. But she associates being friends with me with change in her. That's what should happen. Because what I'm presenting to you is very different than what you're used to with the brothers in these streets.
I would ask a girl, this is broke up one of my relationships, no lie, I promise you. I was like, I'm going on a fast for a couple of days. Do you mind fasting with me? I don't know about all that. I'm like, what? Right. And so it was like, all right, cool. So after this fast, like, we ain't gonna be that. You know, I wouldn't know about this relationship either. And not that I dismissed them because they didn't want to fast.
Yeah.
It's the response to. It's the response to not even trying to take interest in something that's so important to me.
Right.
And my wife is a PK, and I never wanted to marry a church girl. That was the furthest. I was like, nah, they crazy. You know, this is a preconceived.
PK is the worst.
Right. And so, like, in my head, it's a preconceived notion of how church girls act or church girls do or what church girls are about. And I met my wife, and it was like weird because it was like, no matter what I asked her, it was like, well, that's where God leads you. Like,
What advice? Say if you're speaking to your daughter, how does she differentiate a man that might be controlling or extreme, as opposed to a brother that might be really serious in his spiritual beliefs, but also aggressive in a new way for her? How does the sisters differentiate the two?
I feel like it has to be a very central aspect of compassion. Some of the tenets that we stand on is that the sister is more often than not controlled by her emotions, in contrast to a brother, in terms of how she makes decisions and whatnot, which is why she has a lot of maternal aspects about her that brothers can't really tap into. And so I feel like brothers got to be able to recognize that in the sister and be able to deal with her as the scriptures say, as the weaker vessel, and being able to really move in the vein of not weaker in that she is a piece of gum under my shoe, but weaker in that you got to have more patience. You got to be able to articulate yourself that much more efficiently. You got to be able to have a plan of leadership and a vision that she can see and follow and trust in thee. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like the way that the sister can differentiate you from what we say a Jake on the street is being able to have that and being able to have a level of consistency that aligns with what makes you feel good in he doesn't present himself one way with you, and then you find out later that he has presented himself another way. Mm-hmm. And I feel like, and I end with this, I feel like what's going to be more key in that dissemination of knowledge or being able to sift that brother out is, like how we like to say, is another brother. So it's like the sister is going to have a difficult time recognizing all that she needs to recognize in the brother because she's not a man. So she needs to understand how a man moves. So the only way that that's going to happen is by way of another man. Mm-hmm. So that's why, unfortunately, we come from a lot of broken homes. But really how the structure that we believe is that the sister grows up in a home with a father. That father holds her down until there's a brother of great prospect who then could potentially become a husband, and that sister is now under the covering of that brother. So the sister is never wandering the streets alone. She's never out here to fend for herself. She doesn't have to be independent. She doesn't have to be. Because again, Daddy America would tell you, oh, it's okay, sister. You can be independent on your own. You don't need that man. Matter of fact, you need to kick him out the house. We see that a lot. So I feel like those would be the things. Like, have a brother that's there, that's present, that cares about righteousness. See the consistency in that brother, or lack thereof, and be able to really see if the brother can be compassionate and patient with you when you need it the most.
I think that one of those points that you tapped on is through another man, you can see who this man really is. It's always weird to me, men who don't have men friends.
Yeah.
Me too.
You know, like if you don't have someone who can hold you accountable,
yes.
Right? Then it's like, okay, so who helps you see yourself when you can't? And if you're a woman and you're engaging with a man who has no one, but he might be, let's say maybe he is a God-fearing man, and he follows all the tenets of the religion, and he's just like gun ho, but there's no one to hold him accountable. He can turn into someone who looks down on you for everything that you do. Right. He can just become so obsessed that it becomes not a thing that makes you want to turn to God, but pushes you away from God. Right. Mm-hmm. And so you can breed those people out, and it's always a good sign when you see a dude and he always wants to only be with you. Mm-hmm. I'm married, I don't always only want to be with my wife.
Right.
And so, you know, and there's this thing where if a man is by himself throughout the world, like you were saying, there's no accountability and there's no structure. So who can say, yo, bro, you out of line. Go back and tell that woman you apologize for what you said. Like, that's crazy. Right. There's no one to hold you accountable. So for women who want a man of faith, or who want a man and who will encounter a man who maybe be strong in his faith and may feel like that's the faith, it might be a little aggressive to them if they're not on that same path.
Right.
Just know that you will understand that from the people he associates himself with. And as a result, whatever that man puts into you, the woman will start producing that tenfold.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to both ends? Someone who, a woman myself, I'm in a relationship with a gentleman who is discovering his spirituality, and I find that we are shifting a lot. Or maybe it's the other way around, where you might have a woman who is married to a man who doesn't take going to church and spirituality as serious as you do. How do you coexist in love and in a relationship with those two dynamics?
Well, I think it would go back from our understanding. We believe in a divine order. That's the Most High, His Son, man, and woman. That's the divine order. So even if y'all have conflicting beliefs, as long as you respect and reverence the divine order, then you have still some structure in the house. You may not believe in every tenet of what he's going into, but you still respect his beliefs as the man of your house, and vice versa, he respects your beliefs as his woman. And ultimately it's gonna cause conflict, because you have, in a relationship, it has to be a leader, it has to be a follower at any given point. Sometimes a woman might lead in this area, the man follow in this area, but it has to be a leader and a follower consistently throughout the relationship. So unless you can come to an agreement within this aspect, I'm going to allow you to lead, it's going to, you're going to run into rifts.
Absolutely. Many rifts. And I just feel as though, again, the scriptures that we hold to, it often speaks about having a double mind and always changing as often as the phases of the moon, and to be weary of brothers and sisters like that, but chiefly brothers, because again, you want to say that the brother is the leader of this relationship. So if, let's just say you was my blood sister and we had more communication with one another, and you was just like, yo, Shammai, I got this one brother, and I feel as though the brother is discovering himself, and we shifting, as you say. I'm taking shifting as you here one day and you here another day. Is that what you mean?
No, shifting meaning, I used to date a guy who started to practice, he wanted to become a Muslim. And he really wanted me to cover up, which you can see I don't show a lot already, but there was some things that he just kind of went, for me it was extreme. And I found that, I don't know if I didn't have enough patience, but then I also felt like he was so aggressive, it was hard for me to take his lead, if that makes sense.
So you feel like the shift, so that's the shift that you mean when you're talking about that?
Yeah, like I don't mind you coming closer to your creator, discovering your creator, but what advice do you give to to a sister like me that might have felt that they are a little, maybe a little aggressive, or it's just new, it's like, where did this come from? We used to club every Sunday, and now all of a sudden,
Right. It could be 180 like that, though.
Yeah.
It could be,
That's anything in a relationship. If I don't, let's say we used to go out every Saturday night. Now, all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't like that anymore. Great lesson, fellas. You get married, your wife is going to change. She's going to change her mind. She's going to change what she likes, what she dislikes, and they have the right to change their mind. You, as the man, have to have the patience to turn and with that change, because it can be, I love these set of flowers one day. Then it's like 5 years later, you bring her those flowers, and she's like, these aren't my favorite flowers. Like, no, you said that. Oh, no, I moved on to this or whatever. And that's fine. Like, it's annoying for a man, because we're more so, I like this is how it is, and I'm moving forward. And because I like this, I'm going to stick to this because I like it.
Right.
But women have this this thing in them that allows them to change and, you know, be flexible. And so for you with a man who is discovering, any man who is discovering something, once a man locks in, he locks in. So it feels aggressive, regardless of how it is. And especially as a black man, you've been told all your life that black men are aggressive. So no matter how passionate I am, it's going to come off as aggression to you. And so there's a level of trust. Well, do I trust that he's not shoving this religion down my throat? Because that's never how you get people to serve a higher power. That's never how you get people to God. You don't shove it down their throat. You don't say, you need to stop everything you do and change your whole lifestyle now, because that's not how who does that appeal to, right? Because if we're serving a higher power, we know that if there's something higher, that means that we're flawed. There's an imperfection here that there isn't up there. And so of course there's a reason why there's distance, because there's something flawed in me. So if a man is pressuring you to be perfect or to make a flawless transition, he's not looking at the flaw in him that had to get him to that point. So the discovery phase, we weren't perfect in when we found God, because if we were perfect, there would be no need for a God or a higher power, right? There's no, if I'm perfect in everything that I do and I know all and I see all, then I'm God. There's no need for a search for something. But there's something in me that's saying, nah, this isn't all that there is. There's something else, and I'm missing a part. And so there's not that my missing part makes me bad, but I'm not complete yet. And so when you get that completion through seeking God, and you find God, and then you're like, oh, this was what was missing. You can't then now force that on somebody else, because from seeing cultural things and seeing like patterns, if you were raised in the church, which my wife tells me all the time, she had to find God for herself because she was worshiping her parents' God. You can't force your girl to worship your God.
Yeah.
She has to discover God for herself, or discover that divine spiritual moment, because that same moment that you experienced, of course you want them to experience.
Right.
You want to push them to the point where they're like, yo, no, like God is the truth. Like if you get here, like, oh, it's going to open your eyes. You're going to see all this. Girl, like you need to get on it. Read this Bible. She's like, no, I want to do my hair. Leave me alone. Leave her alone.
What's your thoughts around aggression and spirituality?
Well, I'm going to be frank. I believe there is a place for the aggression, because at the end of the day, a lot of the brothers that you see on these corners, they screaming, that's really their only outlet to voice some of the grievances they have with this society. They could be out here knocking people over the head and doing all kind of wickedness, but they're out here expressing it in what they perceive to be a positive way. So I wouldn't vilify them for it. And a lot of the things that they're out there screaming about are valid claims. Now, do I go about it the same way? No. I'm a little bit more reserved in my approach, but I wouldn't demonize those brothers. Now, if they're in there disrespecting, our own people, that's been said, I don't condone that. But the passion and the zeal and being zealous like that, I don't think it's anything wrong. And I think that in this country, the black man has been quailed so much that it's like he's been a shaken bottle, and he feels like he's about to explode. Right. So you have to give people an outlet.
Yeah. And I feel as though what also has to be recognized is that not everybody is a speaker. Not everybody can read well. Not everybody. Not. You know what I'm saying? So just because I have a piece of knowledge doesn't mean I'm the best at articulating or illustrating said piece of knowledge. And so a lot of time pride and ego can get in the way of that, because it's like, I want to be the one to say it. You know what I'm saying? And so that person might fumble it, and it might be that very person that the passerby now sees, and they drop the ball because they're not the best speaker. But they wanted to speak so badly, so now they're at the forefront, and they're the one that's at the helm of this particular topic, let's just say. And so this brother and I have spent many hours on the street teaching. Many hours. And I'm not saying that to boast. I'm saying that to offer the dichotomy where if you see us in the street, you might perceive us as that very thing. You might, just because it's relative, right? So you might, but then you can see us and how we can present ourselves here, because there's a time and place for everything. And so for you to judge me predicated upon 2 seconds that you walked past is not on me, but rather on you. Because we can have a very profitable and beneficial conversation here, as you can see. You know what I'm saying? Where we can touch on things and we can have numerous beliefs that we are in the midst of, but we're not going to be out here tongue lashing people. You know what I mean? Because we get it. We all the same stock. That's what it comes down to again.
Real quick, I just wanted to ask. So, not that, like I understand what you're saying. Do you feel that a message that is packaged in a horrible way is still as impactful as a message that is maybe packaged a little cleaner?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because when you're labeled as this thing that is always angry, it's always violent, that is always aggressive, and when that not only comes against black men, it works against black women. A black woman voices her opinion at her job. She is now angry. She is now frustrated. Then if she doesn't say anything, she's angry, but she's being passive about it. Don't tell her anything. She's gonna start getting angry. And so and then you get the same thing with you. Now that's been in us. Now that's been poured into us. And let's say I'm the passerby, and I hear that.
Right.
You need to do blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't want to do. Now, do I want to serve that God who his messengers are just yelling?
Right.
And I don't know what's happening. I have no context to it, but it seems as if, right? Because I know that, but just plain out. This, it seems as if there's this aggression that I have to do that in order to be a part of something bigger than me.
Right.
And for people, and not for I'm saying people, but for us, for black people, we want a sense of belonging because everything is not ours. They tell us we built this country, it's not ours. We do this, it's not ours. We cultivate culture, music, it's not ours. It doesn't belong to us. We create these beautiful masterpieces, we don't even own the rights to our own music. And like, you know what I mean? So it's like, you get, it's not ours and we want to belong to something, but then we see this, I'm like, they already say, if I do this, they don't receive that well, so where can I belong where I would feel endeared to rather than talked down to?
Right.
And the perception is that those brothers are maybe talking down to me rather than communicating with me in a way that I understand. I understand that, everybody wants everything packaged clean, and certain things don't need to be that way. Truth is truth, right? Revelation is revelation. You're gonna get this truth, and this is the truth, right? And this is how it's revealed. But now, am I doing you a disservice by making you think that I'm speaking down to you rather than uplifting you?
Right.
And I think that's the lens that I see that perception through, rather than just saying people want things the way they want it. But some people, they want truth, but they need to be eased into it. Unlike some of us who, you can throw a whole book of stuff at me that's new knowledge, and I'll be like, what? Right. And I'm like that. Like I get excited about stuff like that.
Right.
You throw that to someone else, they're like, no, I can't read anymore. I'm stuck on page 1. I can't get through the rest of it. Let me come back to it. And so that's why I went that route, because like I want, are we doing more of a disservice with having that rather than uplifting people to feel like we're endearing them to something and you belong here, rather than if you don't, you go into hell.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
brother.
And I feel as though, like in the scriptures, right, it talks about in the book of James, it talks about save some with fear and some with compassion. You know what I mean? And so again, it talks about time and place.
Right.
So everybody is going to receive something in their own way. Like how you said, if somebody throws knowledge at you, you're going to eat it up. Whereas somebody can't get past the first page. And so again, it's that split second of if I'm outside, again, because you're talking about the surroundings. So I'm going to use the two examples that was given, one being outside and the other being in the office. One being outside, I'm battling passerbyers, I'm battling the vehicular traffic, I'm battling police sirens. I got to be loud. I can't speak to you with my inside voice. You know what I'm saying? So, but if we get to a place where now we're in a discourse, it's incumbent upon me to now treat you as my brother and or sister. So now I'm not disrespecting you, you know what I mean? Like how you said the truth is the truth. So it's one of those things that you kind of take it how you're going to take it. But it's important to recognize that it's all relative, you know what I'm saying, and how you receive it. And so in the same, I could be saying something to you, and the Most High is cold, right, and how He works spiritually. Cause I could be saying something to you. You could have pulled up on me and said, brother, I don't like the way you're saying that. And I'm speaking to you. It's not getting to you, but it wasn't even meant for you. It was meant for the person standing next to you, who, in the way that I said it, that's how they needed to receive it. And it was they can only receive it by way of our conversation. You know what I mean? And so if we're in the office, I ain't gonna be hooping and hollering. I'm gonna be like, yo, such and such, right? It's gonna be my inside voice then. And but always what should be present is the respect of this is the same person as me. Now it can be very frustrating, right? The scriptures talk about surely oppression maketh a wise man mad. We are people that are oppressed. So if you're walking around with the mindset that everything is hunky-dory, then I need to galvanize you in the real definition of the word, and I need to shake you up to make you recognize that real stuff is happening right now. You know what I mean? So I can't just always make it very palatable for you.
Right.
You know what I mean?